Welcome back, you guys. Covering the club today has been crazy and the news does not end. I'm going to speak about 3 stories today. First story, Lampard released his official statement after his sacking on Instagram, so I'm going to read through that and give some thoughts and opinions. For the second story, we're going to hear the latest news in regards to Tuchel and his imminent appointment at this club. And for the third story is an explosive, insightful, revealing take in regards to the conditions that led towards Lampard's sacking. We're going to hear things about some of the player divides, and we're going to hear things about just how ruthless our board can be in their pursuit of success. So it's going to be another insightful video, and to keep things real, you guys, I'm not really feeling to ask for likes in this video. It doesn't feel like one of those days. So without wasting any more time, let's kick things off by breaking down and discussing Lampard's statement after being sacked. Now, I'm going to read it out for you guys. As Lampard said on Instagram, "It has been a huge privilege and an honour to manage Chelsea, a club that has been a big part of my life for so long. Firstly, I would like to thank the fans for the incredible support that I have received in the last 18 months. I hope they know what that means to me. When I took on this role, I understood the challenges that lay ahead in a difficult time for the football club. I am proud of the achievements that we made. I am proud of the academy players that have made their step up into the first team and performed so well. They are the future of the club. I am disappointed not to have had time this season to take the club forward and bring it to the next level. I want to thank Mr. Abramovich, the boards, players, my coaching team, and everyone at the club for their hard work and dedication, especially in these unprecedented and challenging times. I wish the team and the club every success for the future. Our former manager, in Frank Lampard." Of course, as usual, a very classy take from Lampard, and now that he's gone, hopefully, some of the negative light that was cast on him might be eased down a bit more. Me personally, I do feel like Frank was misunderstood. I feel like the new direction he was trying to take us forward in, a completely new direction that we have not seen here before. A focus on the young players, on building a philosophy, on building towards the long term. Lampard understood that does take time. However, with a club like us that has that ambition and drive to constantly be fighting for success no matter what, at times, naturally, you're going to come to a crossroads. So for Frank Lampard, his managerial career is not over. I've seen enough from him personally, from his days at Derby where he outclassed Man United, from his game at Derby when they played us at home, where I thought we just survived on the skin of our teeth. And it was one of those interesting games because the game plan that Derby used, I really remember that. They used a mid-block setup. They were targeting Fabregas playing in the pivot, and it worked really well. They probably should have won that game, and for me that was like a small glimpse in regards to the potential that Lampard had. However, the lessons he's learned at this club, I'm sure he is going to learn from and take forward throughout his managerial career. So all I can say is, thank you, Frank Lampard. You gave the youth a chance. That's the most important thing. They've always been the future. They've always needed a brave manager that had the faith, confidence, and belief in these guys, and as he proved, the players be having Reece James, Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Hudson-Odoi, you can go on. Hopefully, Lampard's legacy will live on. Hopefully the academy doors will remain open and the club will continue to take our talents more serious and really give them the opportunities deep into the future. So now you guys, now move on to the second story today, and that's the latest news surrounding Thomas Tuchel. Now, just to break down some prior news very quickly, we know that he has agreed to an 18-month contract with an option to extend by a further 12 months. Now, it's quite safe to assume that it's going to be based on performative measures. If Thomas Tuchel achieves the goals the club have set on him, you can expect his contract to be further extended. But at this point in time, news came out that Thomas Tuchel agreed the final agreements for his contract late last night. And of course, his season objective is to secure us a top 4 finish and get us a Champions League place. Now, I'm sure you guys are wondering, Nini, when exactly are we going to see our new manager in Thomas Tuchel? When's he going to take control of our first game? And based on reports that came out from Mr. Matt Law, he reports that Thomas Tuchel has been given the green light to start his work at this club immediately. Matt Law reports that we are feeling confident that Tuchel will take control of our upcoming game against Wolves this Wednesday after the FA confirmed that Tuchel could join the club's secure bubble. But of course, this is in accordance with coronavirus rules. Now, this doesn't mean that Tuchel doesn't have to quarantine. He still has to do that for the next 5 days. However, he is allowed to attend games and he is allowed to train with the squad. Now, if any unforeseen circumstances popped up within the next few days, then there is the backup option. And if Tuchel, by any small chance, was not able to take control of the game versus Wolves, then our current coaches in Joe Edwards and Anthony Barry would take control of that one game. Today, Edwards and Barry took control of the squad's training session for the upcoming game, and due to Lampard and Jody Morris's departure from the club, it's looking very likely that Tuchel's assistant manager Ananis Mikkels will be joining the club alongside him. Now it's going to be very exciting to see what Tuchel does bring and how he's going to work alongside the club structures. As I said in the first video I released on Lampard's sacking, I like to keep things objective, you guys, because it's all about getting to the truth for me. It's all about deepening my understanding of the game, and I know how to separate my emotions from things. I've been a Chelsea fan for years. It's not the first time managers have been sacked in circumstances like this. It's kind of one of those things you have to get used to being a Chelsea fan. So with Tuchel, let's see what he's going to bring to the team. Let's see what adaptations he's going to make. It's going to be interesting to see the comparisons between him and Frank Lampard, using the same set of players in the same squad. You guys in the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions. Are you excited to see Tuchel against Wolves? Let us all know. And for the final story today, it's another Matt Law piece, and it's a pretty explosive and revealing article. So just to start with things, you guys, we found out in the end that Lampard was not given a 3-year contract. In fact, it was a 2-year contract with the option to extend by a further year. Because Lampard only lasted for 18 months, it means that his final payout for the remaining 6 months is going to be at $2 million. But Law's report states that Lampard was warned by former managers about just how different it is once he managed his club. I mean, who could that be? That could be anyone. Is that Mourinho? Is that Ancelotti? Is that both? It wouldn't surprise me. We learned some more information in regards to the team's achievements from last season. Even though we got a top 4 finish, and even though we got to the final of the FA Cup, that was only deemed passable by the boards, with a 4th place finish not being deemed good enough, regardless of the circumstances or the context. The club felt the pressure in regards to just how far behind we were against your Liverpools and your Man Cities, and Matt Law reports that after our 2 successive defeats against Everton and Wolves, Lampard and his backroom staff were held under further scrutiny. The report claims that there was a belief behind the scenes that the club weren't having the same type of confidence behind the experiment, as it was called, and for me, the fact that this was deemed as an experiment maybe sums up the energy behind the confidence and his long-term projects. Now, here's where things become even more interesting and more explosive, as the report reveals some context behind the squad's dynamics for this season. There seems to have been a bit of a divide between the senior players and the younger ones, with reports claiming that some of the senior players were quite disgruntled and they felt like some of the younger players were being treated like favourites. The report claims that Rudiger and Azpilicueta had come to many face-offs throughout the season, with Azpilicueta trying to act as that balancing act to try and ease attention. But in the end, the article does allude to this growing divide between some of the senior players and the younger players that Lampard was focusing more on. Matt continues on, and the report turns back to Tuchel, with the club hoping that Tuchel will get the best out of Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, even though the article does state that with Kai, there's a belief that he might need until next season, similar to an Ndombele, and in regards to Timo Werner, he needs more time getting acclimatized to the intensity of the Premier League. So for me personally, I'm curious to see what type of instant impact that Tuchel is going to have with Werner and Kai, because it's not like back in the Bundesliga. We're in the Premier League, and I can't see some of these, ongoing issues being turned overnight, but I'll keep an open mind, I'll see what happens. And to continue on, there was more interesting insight revealed in regards to Roman Abramovich and his team of advisors. Well, it seems like Roman and his team take stat trends very seriously, and one stat trend that really bothered them throughout the season was that Lampard had scored the lowest points per game ratio compared to any of the managers hired under Roman's tenure. So yeah, it's a bit interesting to me. If I was to give my thoughts and opinions on that, I feel like context plays a part, and I feel like sometimes with how stats are used today, It feels like context is that key thing that is missing from statistical discussions. I think if you were to break down the points per game ratio that every manager had, I think with Frank Lampard it's kind of obvious. You're introducing a lot of younger players into the team. You're looking to create a playing style, a philosophy. I mean, I could go on, and as I'm trying to stress, context can be applied to every single manager's tenure at this club in regards to their points per game ratio. So for me, it does feel a tiny bit harsh that this context was missing for Frank Lampard. So for me, this is a personal thing, but I do feel like stats just aren't using the correct context to paint these types of footballing pictures. The article ends by suggesting that Roman had originally thought to give Lampard 3 games to turn things around, but decided afterwards, considering that Tuchel was applying the pressure and a manager of his standards was available in the market, him and the club felt like it was the right time to take advantage of this and let Frank Lampard leave. Now, to give my thoughts and opinions, again, what I'm about to say is not the sole reason. I do feel at times that when I talk about what's happening at the club, I'm always held to account by one thing I say when I try to paint a picture over different videos, because I'm sure you guys don't want me to repeat myself all the time. But I'm going to go back to something that I knew eventually would cause issues, and it's based on just the nature of this game. Now, I get it from a footballing perspective. You look at your guys like your Rudigers, your Kovers, your Jorginhos, your Kepas, and your Marcos Alonsos. Players that really felt it not getting the minutes. Players that felt outcasted, and, it's understandable. It really is understandable. They're senior players. They want to play for their national teams for the Euros, and, this is the key season to secure their spots for their national teams. And, it's interesting because, of course, Lampard made it very aware that he wanted these guys sold and replaced, back during the window. And as I'm saying, for me, this was the responsibility of the board to, find a way to sell these guys on for a reasonable price. But, when you're expecting to get full market value for these guys, especially when they're not playing as much, especially when you've created situations where, we've got 3 left backs. We signed Ben Chilwell before we sold a Emerson or a Marcos Alonso. There's no way from that point on you're getting full maximum value for any one of those guys. And considering this season, we've got 3 goalkeepers, we've got 5 defenders, 3 left backs. You're kind of creating a condition where you're going to create the unhappiness. It's bound to be there. The only way to have solved that was to have sold these players first when the interest was there for the betterment of the team and for the team's long-term future. I mean, this is football, you guys. Senior players will consistently feel like they deserve to get the minutes. This type of senior hierarchy is consistently being a thing at this club too. So just because we're in a different generation, I'm not expecting that dynamic to be anything different. Still though, if there was an opportunity where we sold these guys on, where we raise the funds to have signed a Thomas Partey or a CDM, I do personally feel like the way our season went down this past 5 weeks could have been completely different. And the reality is, as I keep stressing, it felt like there was 2 different teams at the club. The academy guys and the new signings mixed alongside, signings from previous eras that are still remaining at the club. So when you're mixing and matching, it means you're consistently creating this environment where you have to tweak and tweak and tweak to, find a balanced approach all the time. And to be honest, this is one area in which I'm really going to pay attention to Tuchel to see what his ideas are and what solutions he's going to find to this issue, because it affected Frank Lampard, and personally I think it can affect any manager. So, now that Tuchel's had time to assess things, it's going to be interesting to see what he does differently. And there you have it, you guys. That was another News Daily video. Expect there to be more videos out tomorrow. Expect the match preview to be out tomorrow. And to let you guys know, I'm doing a little something with BT Sports, so expect to see that tomorrow, you guys. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos.